Hello and welcome to another video. This is going to be the first of many tutorial guide type videos that I'm going to be doing for Space Marine 2. So I have over 300 plus hours in this game now. I've pretty much done everything you could possibly think of. And I figured, you know what, let's do a guide on some of my favourite classes. And we're going to start off with the Tactical Marine. Yes, the Tactical Marine. So we'll jump in and then we'll give a quick overview of the Tactical itself. Now, the Tactical Marine is probably, I would say, by far the most versatile of all of the classes in the game. It allows you to essentially do a crap load of range damage and melee damage, which is pretty cool. The only other class that I would probably put on par with the Tactical that is able to do both sort of melee and range would be the Vanguard. And really what sort of offsets those two is the Tactical has more armor. It has the 3 pips of armor where the Vanguard only has 2. Now, you do have a wide range of weapons. You obviously have the standard issue bolt rifle. You have obviously the bolt rifle, which we will be jumping into later on. You have one of my favorites, which is the heavy bolt rifle. Now, I will say this on the heavy bolt rifle straight away. I don't think the Tactical should have this weapon. As a tabletop 40k player and Space Marine fanboy, this weapon is the main weapon of the heavy intercessor, the Gravis armored intercessor, or in Space Marine 2, the heavy marine. This should be on the heavy. It would kind of change the playstyle slightly. You could be able to be a sort of heavily armored version of the intercessor, and it would kind of be a little bit more lore accurate. You have the standard issue Stalker, you have the little carbine, you have the plasma, and you have the melter. But we're going to be going into the weapons in a separate video, so don't worry about that. Now, you also have your standard issue bolt pistol, and you have your chain axe. Again, I'm going to be doing a video on the bolt rifle, the bolt gun with the grenade launcher, because if you're going to be playing Tactical, that is the weapon you're going to be using, and I'm going to go through that very shortly. And you've got the Aquila, the chainsaw. I'm going to do a separate video. Now, for anybody who is new to Space Marine 2, who has not yet seen the class, or hasn't really sort of got into sort of the nuances of all the different classes, we're going to look at the Auspex. So basically, what does the Auspex do? Well, it basically drops a big ball of sort of like a big dome over an enemy, and while you're in there, you're going to get a number of bonuses. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at the perk tree, and then we'll go through this. So here is my build. You can take screenshots of it. You can, you know, pause the video now and have a look, and I'll go through each line. I'm not going to go through each perk as a level that you get. You basically start out here on the balanced distribution, and you basically get one of these for every level that you work through, and then eventually you get to the maximum level 25 and you get finally this. Now, I have paid for every single one of these because, you know, it's nice to have, and I'm a completionist, and yeah, it is what it is. So my build is pretty simple. It's all about the grenade launcher. I'm building into that grenade launcher. The grenade launcher is stupidly overpowered, and it is so good when it actually comes to it. So let's have a little look for now. So my first row, I'm basically looking at cracking penetration rounds. And the reason why is, you know, that over penetration, especially when you're fighting into minorous enemies like your little gaunts or your Zangors, you know, popping one and then hitting a second one behind is really good. You know, more meat per bullet is, as they say in the film Fury, and that is definitely my mentality when it comes to the assault. Oh, sorry, the tactical. Now, if you want to run the plasma, this is a very good one to have. It's the plasma boost. It basically increases the 50% overheated, and it damages increased by 30%. It's really, really, really good. And there are some only that will build into this as well, and we're going to go look at that in a second. But if you want to run the plasma predominantly, then I would sort of switch into that from this. This one, your primary weapon deals 10% more damage, but your secondary weapon deals 10% less damage. Yeah, you can, but when we go into the other video, when I look into the perks and everything for the bolt gun, you will see that you don't really need this 10% extra damage. It's nice, and it's definitely there as you're starting out. You're going to have this, but this is kind of good anyway. So it really depends. This is a Marmite. If you're going to run the plasma, this is what you're going to go for. If you want that extra 10% damage because you're running missions that are a little bit high for your current level, then go for that extra 10% damage. Or if you're fully maxed out and you've got fully maxed out weapons, then go for the Kraken. But the next row we have height and vigor. After you perfectly timed a dodge, you do not lose control from taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back for 5 seconds. Yeah, that's okay. I prefer Relentless Pursuit, so after a gun strike, range damage is increased by 25% for 5 seconds. As a tactical, you are going to be getting into melee. You have a chainsword. You are pretty versatile in close combat. So yeah, let's get in there, get those gun strikes rocking, and getting those that 25% extra. You can gun strike something, and even if you dodge and get a perfectly timed dodge and pop off the gun strike, that is still going to trigger that extra 25% damage. So that's really handy. You do a bit of damage, you're going to get a bit of armor back, and you're going to start really ripping into the enemy. This one, versatility, switching weapons from your primary to your secondary to get 20%. Yeah, I'm not really. I only ever really use my pistol if I want to sort of conserve ammo. If you're only coming up against minorous enemies, you can sort of pull out your pistol, shred them a bit, and then it kind of keeps your primary weapon ammo down, especially on higher level difficulties like Ruthless and Lethal. You want to conserve and be mindful of how much ammunition you are expending. Next, you start off with Final Shot. After a finisher, the equipped ranged weapon reloads automatically. That's really good. It's kind of nice to get a reload, which is kind of good, but you're going to sort of skip past that quite quickly. Steady aim, completely pointless. You don't really need it, so don't really worry about this. What you want is this, and this is what's going to build into that grenade launcher build. This is the Emperor's Vengeance, so killing a Majoris, so that is your Chaos Warrior, your Thousand Suns Marine, and your Tyrannid Warriors, or higher enemy restores your primary weapon ammo by 1 magazine, cannot exceed a maximum capacity, cooldown is 30 seconds. Basically, your grenades, and I'm going to do some footage at the end of, put some footage at the end, you will see how this works. So I will be able to fire my 7 grenades, and then I can kill a Majoris, a Tyrannid Warrior, and I get my 7 grenades back. Really, really good. And it just allows you to just keep on rinsing and repeating that absolute insane amount of damage that the tactical can do with the grenade launcher. So your first team ability, you're going to get Community Under Fire, so recall is reduced. Again, not really needed, but giving range damage by 5% to all squad members is really quite nice. That's what you're going to go for. This one, all squad members restore 30% more contested health. In most case scenarios, you're going to be running with a bulwark, so you don't really need this. So aligned aim, 5% for all extra, 5% damage for extra for all your team is definitely where you want to be. Now into your gear, so you're going to be kicking off with this. So this is where you're kind of going into your Auspex scanner now. So vital data, scanning an extremist or terminus level enemy restores an Auspex charge by 50%. That's really good, but you're only really going to be using that every now and again. You know, you're really only going to get one terminus, maybe two at most in higher level missions. Your extremist level enemies, yeah, you're probably going to get a few Ravagers and Licklers every now and again, as well as your Zoanthropes, but it's okay. It's not bad. Priority targeting, the mark for the Auspex lasts 8 seconds. Is basis sections, but it no longer targets Minoris level enemies. That's okay, but I kind of like this. Target lock. Enemies marked by Auspex take 25% more weapon damage. Now, you can build this into the signature, and we'll get into that in a second. And especially if you're on voice comms and you're running with a bunch of people that you know and play with regularly, and you can time this really well. You can have this as well as this one and really go absolute hammer into it. But, you know, for a general solo play, I kind of like this because it kind of works. Most of the time, people know when a tactical drops the Auspex, they're going to go absolutely nuts and start unleashing holy hell onto the enemy. So it's kind of nice. Now we're going to get into a little bit of close combat. So, perfectly timed parry and block gives the paired enemy a mark of Auspex scan. Yes, that is your class signature ability. So yeah, you want to give them an Auspex, and it's really quite nice because you're going to be able to knock them back, get the gun strike, and give them an Auspex scan as well. It's just really kind of handy. You can go scanning 20 enemies with an Auspex restores a charge, but let's be completely honest. You're probably going to be killing them a lot quicker, or your teammates will be killing them, and you may not necessarily get that 20 mobs straight away. And it's very situational. Lastly, precision calibration. Enemies marked with Auspex tank take 75% more damage, but the radius is reduced by 25%. Now, you can pair this in with this as well as this, or even, you know, one of these. But personally, I kind of like sort of this because I like getting stuck into combat with my tacticals, so that's the reason why I've gone that. But if you're not a fan of close combat whatsoever and you just want to be a ranged gun bunny and you just want to sit at the back literally unloading death with your bolt gun, then maybe sort of pick this one as well. It kind of sort of, you know, would build into that. But for me, I like the close combat, so I'm going to go for this. Next, you have when Auspex is on cooldown, melee damage increased by 50% against Minoris levels. Absolutely pointless. You don't really need extra damage against Minoris. You're going to carve through them anyway. And then you've got expert training. Enemies marked with Auspex stand takes an additional 100% damage. Now, again, you can do this one, and then this one, and all really building into the Auspex. But the problem with this is it only reduces it to 4 seconds from 8 seconds. Yeah, you could increase that damage by 100%. This build is, if you're going into decapitation and you're going to fight the Hive Tyrant and you've got the grenade launcher and you want the Hive Tyrant, when it switches into phase 2, dead instantly, then take this one, and take expert training, go into the room, get it through phase 1 so it goes back to full health and it starts doing the pulse, drop on Auspex, fire your 7 grenades, and in most cases, by the time you fire the 7 grenades, that Hive Tyrant is dead. It's crazy good. But I use concentrated fire, so enemies marked with an Auspex takes an additional 100% damage, but they lose the mark when they leave the scanned area. Now, the reason why I've gone for this one over this one is, yes, they can move out of the area, but I'm relying on the fact that I am going to put so much damage into that area in such a quick succession that they're not going to get out of the area because they're going to be dead. That even works for the Hive Tyrant as well. So, you know, you could, if I was going to go sort of decapitation, I would take this one out, put this one in, and then do this top row here, and literally just absolutely obliterate the Hive Tyrant in a matter of seconds. Now for my signature, I'm going for Mark for Death. So a headshot will instantly kill a Majorus or Extremis enemy level by marked by Auspex scan. Now this is really, really good because this also works on gun strikes. So yes, I can gun strike and then gun strike again, and the second gun strike will generally kill the enemy, which then feeds into this, which then allows me to re-roll my grenade launcher and get it reloaded. So yeah, that's generally my build. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over and we're going to have a little look at some gameplay footage of the tactical in play. So as you can see, I'm in. Let's just get this guy down and let's help these guys. And then once we get it all packed, I will show you what we do. There's the headshot straight away. So as you can see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the grenade. The amount of damage that this thing does is insane. And then what we're going to do, run round and we're going to find a nice pack of enemies to drop the Auspex on. Now this is on Ruthless difficulty, so we should have no problem getting that. And as we can see, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that there. So you see how quickly you can just eradicate enemies. So I haven't got the grenade, so I'm going to need to kill an Extremis. Or a Majorus, which we should get in no time. Take down lifters really quickly with the tactical, which is really kind of handy because, like I said, you can really sort of go to town on it.
But not for long. All specs primed. In. Team has arrived at the Imperial Garden camp.
So listen, you need to acquire the master military demolition codes required to deploy and arm their ordnance. Source one from any soldier you see, alive or otherwise.
So you see the amount of damage that you can do really quickly. You just clean out the area, just drop the Auspex and it's done.
Have the codes, brothers. Captain.
Super fun to do, super easy to do, and it's such a simple system to do.
Demolition preparations.
Three warriors just eradicated in a matter of seconds. I mean, that was what, 5-6 warriors just destroyed, and a horde and a load of Minoris just eradicated in a matter of seconds. Like, this is the reason why the grenade launcher is so overpowered. Because no other weapon system can do that. So you'll see the stats now of what I did during that Ruthless mission of filming. So You know, the kind of level of the damage you can do is pretty significant. Dropping the auspex, firing in those grenades, and then if you have to, switch into your chainsword and getting stuck in some melee. The class is so versatile and it's so user friendly, and you can get the best of both worlds. You can play both close combat and range, or you can focus purely on either one. It's just that good. So as you can see, here's the stats that we got, and this is my stats. So like 6,000 damage in melee damage and 12,500 for range damage. That's pretty impressive. The only one that beat me slightly was the heavy, and he had the multi-melter, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, that is the mission. That is it done. So that is the Tactical Marine. Thank you for joining me for my first guide into in Space Marine 2. I'm going to be doing other videos on the bolt gun with the grenade launcher and the chainsword, and then that will round out my sort of stuff on the Tactical Marine, and then I'll be looking at some of the other classes. So if you want to see any more, let me know in the comments below, and obviously please subscribe to the channel, like, share, comment, and all of that good stuff. And you can support me on my members and patrons if you want to support me in other ways. But that's the video, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me today, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.